She discovered her diary at the cafe. His incredible response. "I won't let you go again." It lay there, dust-covered yet vibrant in its faded bindings, as if time had passed over it without capturing its spirit. Sarah's fingers trembled as she clutched the diary, an artifact from her teenage years, filled with fervent aspirations of painting and galleries, each page humming with unfulfilled dreams. Seated at the Riverstone Café, where the rich aroma of coffee embraced her like an old friend, she felt a chasm inside widen with each word she read. The vibrant drawings, the inked dreams of art school, felt distant, like shadows of a life she once envisioned. But here it was a striking reminder of who she could have become, something she buried deep beneath the weight of obligations and reality. As a committed art teacher, Sarah had become entangled in the lives of her students, pouring herself into their successes. Yet in the act of nurturing their dreams, her own had dissipated like the steam from her coffee, leaving a bitter aftertaste. Just before her day spiraled into that predictable Tuesday routine, her encounter with the diary sparked a desperate yearning inside her nerve endings. Understanding rushed in, laying her past bare. She felt guilt mixed with regret. How had she allowed herself to drift away from the path she once so fervently chased? Then came Jake, the ambitious yet troubled 17-year-old who stumbled upon her diary while cleaning the classroom. Curious about the woman behind the paint-splattered canvases, he read snippets of her ambitions and felt his own heartbreak reflected in her words. He empathized, understanding that, like her, the weight of expectations held him back. Suddenly, the teacher-student divide blurred, giving rise to moments that would spark both hope and conflict. Securing the courage within himself, he approached her that evening, the thin veneer of professionalism shaking under the weight of their shared aspiration. "Why didn't you go?" he asked, his earnest gaze holding her captive. Sarah hesitated, her breath catching. "Art was always in my heart but never on my mother's agenda," she murmured, her voice trembling, each syllable a revelation of buried pain. As she saw the fire flicker in Jacob's eyes, igniting questions of his own worth, a connection formed, a delicate strand binding their artistic longings together. But with each conversation, the intensity of their friendship unveiled a growing tension within Sarah. Family dinners turned into a battleground. Her mother's voice pierced through her resolve. "You want a gallery showing? What will that achieve?" Each word stung, forcing Sarah to question her worth and priorities. The burden of expectation felt suffocating, twisting painfully in her stomach. She watched Jake struggle similarly, trapped beneath his father's critical demeanor, defining art as mere whimsy, a distraction from responsibility. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then, as if the universe conspired to test her, a local gallery extended an invitation for her to showcase her work. Thrill coursed through her, yet paralyzing fear followed closely behind. Each brushstroke she'd need to make would reflect not just her capabilities, but all that her mother and society expected of her. The stakes climbed higher, growing louder in her head. Would Jake's dreams align with hers, or would they too be neglected along with her own? On the night of the gallery opening, she stood before a blank canvas, a window into a world of possibilities and anxiety. Jake stood by her side, his hopeful gaze bolstering her resolve. The moment felt preordained. Keys turning in locks she hadn't known were even there. However, the gallery doors flung open dramatically, and a figure from her past emerged, shrouded with the weight of memories long kept in the shadows. An anxiety swelled, its walls closing in. Would this familiar presence shatter the fragile new beginning she had just begun to reclaim? As the air crackled with uncertainty, Sarah froze, her heart racing, caught between who she was expected to be and who she dared to become. Time seemed to stop as Sarah's eyes locked onto the figure that had entered the gallery, her past colliding forcefully with her present. It was her old art instructor, Mr. Hughes, the man whose critiques had once felt like daggers. His presence loomed large, a reminder of every failure and missed opportunity that had haunted her since her youth. The gallery, once a sanctuary to display her rebirth, now morphed into an arena where her doubts would play out under the scrutiny of those who had molded her dreams. Jake leaned against the wall, sensing her shift in mood. "Sarah, are you all right?" His voice was soothing yet tinged with concern, a grounding force that propelled her thoughts. But the panic surged. How could she embody the artist she wished to be with someone so pivotal from her past now judging her every move? Did he see them, her unfinished canvases, shadows of a talent stunted by her own fears? Sarah attempted to channel her anxiety into the work on display, but each piece felt alive yet siphoned of her essence. Memories of late nights spent sketching, her hands covered in paint, now seemed like an illusion, the joy eclipsed by self-doubt. What if Mr. Hughes thought she wasn't ready? What if he saw her as a failure? The gallery buzzed around her, laughter mingling with quiet admiration, but the sounds faded into a dull hum. Her focus was locked on Mr. Hughes, whose eyes roamed the artwork. Did he recognize her struggles? Did he recall the fiery passion she had as a teenager? The moment he turned his gaze to her, vulnerability washed over her like cold water. "Sarah," he called out, his voice steady but layered with authority. She felt the weight of everyone's eyes shifting toward her, bridging the chasm of past and present. "Your work, it's impressive. I see you've poured your heart into it." "Thank you," she replied, forcing steam into her voice despite the knot in her stomach. Was he sincere, or was this merely a professional facade? "What do you want to achieve with this exhibition?" His question struck a chord, reverberating through her mind. It wasn't just about displaying her work, it was a chance to redefine her professional identity, to reclaim the passion that was snuffed out by the weight of expectations. "I want to rediscover what art means to me," she found herself saying, her internal resolve crystallizing. The words hung in the air, a testament to her own bravery. "I want to show the world that it's never too late to pursue your dreams, regardless of the burdens we carry." A flicker of respect shone in Mr. Hughes' gaze, and the blurred edges of her insecurity began to sharpen. "You've always had it in you. Remember that." As he walked away, something shifted within Sarah, a raw energy ignited. She turned to Jake, who watched her with an intensity that made her heart race. "You should speak about your work too," she encouraged. I want to, but I don't know if I can," he stammered, his own insecurities bubbling to the surface. "Come on. We're both terrified, but we owe it to ourselves to try," she urged, the weight of shared hopes pulling them closer together. The air was charged with the potential of their collective ambitions, their voices and visions intertwined. With every heartbeat, Sarah could feel her aspirations beginning to rise like fresh paint on a canvas. But beneath that exhilaration lay another layer of fear. What if they both faltered? What if stepping into the light only brought more criticism and contempt? Jake nodded, his determination rekindled. They stepped toward a small crowd forming by her artwork, adrenaline pumping through their veins. But just as they began to introduce themselves, another figure emerged from the shadows, one that cast a long, chilling shadow over Sarah's reignited spirit. It was her mother, a sour expression etched on her face, eyes darting from the artwork to her daughter. "What on earth are you doing here? You've made a fool of yourself." A sinking feeling twisted in Sarah's chest. But this was the crucible she had long sought to face. "I'm finally realizing who I am." The flames of her resolve flickered defiantly against her mother's disapproval. The tension between the past and her burgeoning identity loomed larger than ever. In that moment, Sarah stood at the precipice of a choice. Would she conform to the expectations that had shackled her for so long, or would she embrace the freedom to create her own narrative? As the confrontation rippled outward, the gallery sparked with energy and uncertainty. Sarah knew the time had come to confront her demons, both personal and familial. But would she muster the courage to defend her newfound sense of self, or would she allow the weight of her mother's doubts to anchor her once more? The room pulsed with anticipation, and Sarah took a breath, ready to leap into the unknown. Sarah held her breath, the air thick with tension as she faced her mother. The gallery buzzed around her, yet her world narrowed to that singular confrontation. A fool? She echoed, feeling the heat in her cheeks rise, fueled by a mixture of anger and validation. No, Mom. This is me taking a stand for once. Her mother's eyes narrowed, the disapproval palpable. But behind the sharp expression, Sarah sensed the flicker of something deeper: fear. Perhaps it wasn't just about Sarah's choice to exhibit. It was about the life her mother envisioned for her. A life that had always seemed more like a cage than a sanctuary. Do you think this is what you were meant to do? Her mother continued, voice low and sharp. This is a waste of time, Sarah. It's not a waste. This is where I'm supposed to be, she countered, heart racing but a clarity settling in her mind. Art had always been the language through which she expressed her truth, and tonight, she would not let anyone silence that voice. Behind her, Jake watched, unsure yet ready to step forward if needed. He too had felt the weight of expectations, and his support was a balm. With a deep breath, Sarah summoned her courage, channeling the whispered encouragement from Mr. Hughes. This is about more than just art. It's about my journey, my story, she said, her voice stronger now. I've spent too long trying to fit into a mold that doesn't reflect who I am. This exhibit isn't just for others. It's for me. A flicker of doubt crossed her mother's face, but she hardened her gaze. And what about your responsibilities? Your future? I've spent enough time meeting everyone else's expectations, Sarah replied, each word punctuated with a newfound conviction. This is my future I'm piecing together, one brushstroke at a time. Silence enveloped them as her mother processed the full weight of Sarah's declaration. Memories, laden with expectations, rushed through Sarah's mind: the late-night discussions about stability and success, the disappointment when her artistic path diverged from the conventional. But she was weary of that narrative. I'm not asking for your approval, but I need you to accept this part of me, Sarah continued, feeling the tight cords of her past slowly unwinding. Art is who I am. I can't hide anymore. Her mother's face softened just a touch, then hardened again, as if wrestling with a long-hidden truth. You don't understand what it's like to struggle, she shot back, voice rising. Maybe it's time you realize that I've been struggling too, Sarah challenged, heat rising again. It's not just about you anymore. And in that moment of raw honesty, a ripple of connection sparked, a flicker of recognition perhaps. Art could be a bridge instead of a chasm. Before her mother could respond, Jake stepped forward, his voice steady and firm. Sarah is brave for putting her work out there. We both are. This journey may not be what you expected, but it's ours. The challenge in Jake's tone surprised Sarah, but she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. He understood, perhaps better than she did, that to navigate this creative journey, she needed allies, even if it meant confronting old demons. Her mother looked at both of them, eyes narrowing. But, are you sure? What if it doesn't go as planned? As planned? Sarah snorted softly, a small smirk forming in defiance. Mom, nothing in my life has gone as planned. That's the beauty of it. Life, art, it's all about the unexpected. In that moment, the gallery felt like a turning point, laden with potential. The crowd that had once seemed intimidating now felt supportive, even if only loosely. Sarah realized the room was filled with people who had taken chances, who had sought their paths, just as she was doing now. Amidst the cacophony, a quiet strength burgeoned within her. Maybe, just maybe, this was an opportunity not just for creativity but for healing within her family dynamic. Yet when her mother softened for a moment, a new worry crept in. Would reconciliation come with acceptance or more disappointment? The question loomed large as her mother's lips parted, ready to voice something she would regret or perhaps not fully grasp. The beat of uncertainty echoed in Sarah's mind as she held her breath, awaiting her mother's next words, knowing her path would be shaped by what came next. The room seemed to hold its breath too, teetering on the brink of revelation. The silence stretched, and for an anguishing moment, Sarah's world hung in the balance. Her mother, the towering figure of authority and expectation, opened her mouth, the words suspended like fate itself. What could she say that would either shatter Sarah's resolve or unexpectedly build a bridge between them? The gallery around her buzzed, but inside, Sarah felt a different current, a merging of anxiety and anticipation. Finally, her mother spoke, her tone softer but still laced with caution. I always believed I was protecting you. I just didn't want you to become lost. The words felt like both a dagger and a lifeline. It was a complex blend of truth and pain that Sarah had never heard from her mother. At that moment, she realized the depth of her mother's own fears that had been projected onto Sarah all her life. This was a pivotal shift in their dance, and Sarah stayed quiet, deliberating her response. I understand that now, but I can't be your version of what success is. I need to discover my own path, even if it frightens you. It frightens me too, she replied, hesitant but resolute. Each phrase felt like a stepping stone across the tumultuous waters of their relationship. Jake, observing the scene with an intensity that felt both protective and encouraging, shifted closer to Sarah, giving her a grounding presence. She felt bolstered by his unwavering steadiness, as the tension shifted from her individual conflict to the complex narrative of parent and child, interwoven with love and misunderstandings. Her mother sighed, reflexively wiping her eyes as she battled with the emotions erupting within her. I need you to promise me something. If you fail, if this doesn't go the way you hope, you will at least consider what I've sacrificed for you. Sarah's heart sank, the plea igniting a swirl of conflicting emotions. Was her mother still perceiving her art subscription as a fleeting decision? Mom, failing is part of any journey, especially in art. What matters is that I keep trying, that I keep creating. I can't just abandon this because it feels risky or unconventional. I can't watch you hurt, her mother insisted, and there it was, the familial instinct to shield. But it had now become a chain binding Sarah to the expectations that threatened to suffocate her spirit. Fine lines of tension formed across Sarah's forehead. Then let's learn together. This is new territory for both of us, and I need you to embrace my journey not just as your child but as an artist. Tension flickered in her mother's expression before melting into admiration. Perhaps she saw the tenacity in Sarah and, for the first time, sensed the weight of her own expectations as burdens rather than guidance. The two stood at the precipice of understanding, and in that fragile space, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her. It became clear to her that this was no longer just about the art. It was about breaking free from the confines of their past, a liberation that was as terrifying as it was exhilarating. Jake's hand lightly brushed against her arm, grounding her further. What if we create a new understanding, one where we both can breathe? I can be your ally in this, and maybe your mother can find a way to adapt. His words resonated deeply, echoing Sarah's fragmented thoughts. The realization struck her a mutual journey could redefine their relationship, one brushstroke at a time. Taking a deep breath, she crafted her next words carefully. Mom, can we just try to accept this new chapter without judgment? Can we promise to support each other as we navigate all this unpredictability? The gallery noise faded into a distant hum as Sarah awaited her mother's response, tension mounting. Her heart raced, knowing the importance of this moment. Would her mother resist the change they both needed, or could they write a new narrative together? The weight of expectation loomed between them, yet there was also a flicker of hope. Just beyond that hope lay the vision Sarah had of a life where her art was unapologetically intertwined with her identity. She could see it, could almost touch it, but was it one she could share with her mother? As the question hung in the air, poised to redefine them both, Jake stepped slightly back, his presence still a shield yet encouraging Sarah to navigate this crucial moment on her own. The air crackled with uncertainty, but it was clear. The stakes had shifted. Sarah felt the stirrings of a new beginning, tethered to the outcomes yet veiled in the unknown. As her mother took a breath, Sarah realized an undeniable truth: this encounter could transform everything. Their futures could converge in unexpected ways, but whether that journey would be one of acceptance or rejection, only time would reveal. With a sudden intensity, Sarah faced her mother, ready to brave whatever came next. The moment of intention arrived. The true test of their relationship lay just a heartbeat away. What would her mother choose? The breath held between them finally broke, a collective sigh escaping from both Sarah and her mother, the first true concession of the moment. There was something transformative in that gasp, a shared understanding shimmering in the air, fragile yet unmistakable. Sarah studied her mother's face, watching for signs of acceptance amid the storm of emotions. Her mother began, faltering as a wave of vulnerability swept over her. I need time to digest this. It's just so foreign to me. Sarah nodded, warmth blossoming in her chest despite the lingering uncertainty. We can take it one step at a time. This doesn't have to be a race, not for either of us. Jake's South presence shifted close again, fortifying her resolve as he whispered, "That's right. Maybe you two need to define this new relationship on your terms." His belief in her was both grounding and spurring, a reminder that Sarah was not alone in this intricate dance. The reality was setting in for both women. They were embarking on uncharted territory where expectations would no longer dictate their interactions. Sarah yearned to transform from the dutiful daughter into a woman who defined herself through her passion and creativity. But to do so would mean dismantling her mother's long-held perceptions, a daunting task. As the gallery's vibrancy faded to the background, the intimate bubble around Sarah and her mother pulsed with latent possibility. "Mom," she ventured cautiously, "what if we approach this as a shared journey? You don't have to give up on your ideals, but maybe we can find a middle ground?" "That sounds reasonable," her mother admitted, a hint of surprise coloring her tone. "But I have my own ideas about the future for you, Sarah. How do I reconcile those with what you want?" There was a flicker of her old guard, yet it was tempered with something gentler. In that moment of connection, Sarah felt a truth solidify within her. She wasn't merely fighting for her artistic dreams. She was fighting for both their futures. "Mom, what you envision for me is important. But I need to chart my own course. Let me show you who I am as an artist." Her mother stared at her, a mix of pride and uncertainty swirling in her eyes. This vulnerability deepened the bond they shared, but it also left space for the old patterns to resurface. "I have to admit, the thought scares me. What if it all blows up? What if you're not as good as everyone hopes? What will everyone think?" The query hung heavy in the air, braided with fear and expectations long harbored. "What if it doesn't blow up?" Sarah countered, her voice steadying. "What if it blooms into something beautiful? We can't predict the future, but we can create it together." Her mother's lip quivered slightly, as if tasting the notion of letting go. Could she truly accept that Sarah's battle to find herself could also build a stronger relationship between them? The silence stretched again, much like in the moments before her mother had spoken earlier. "How about we start by visiting the studio together? I can show you my work, my process. It might help you see that this isn't just a whim," Sarah suggested, sensing a shift in the air. Her mother's brow furrowed, another hint of hesitation, but beneath it, a flicker of excitement stirred. "You would really let me in? You would share with me?" "Absolutely," Sarah affirmed, feeling her heart pound with energy. "This isn't about hiding. It's about inviting you into my world. I want you to understand not just what I create, but why it matters to me." Jake shifted, his enthusiasm infectious. "A collaborative effort, right? Imagine the two of you working through these layered emotions together on canvas and in conversation." His smile radiated confidence, reaffirming what Sarah was trying to convey. As her mother considered the proposal, Sarah felt a rush of hope. This could be the fulcrum that turned their relationship around, a pathway to rediscovering one another amid the paint and the canvas. But as the thought settled, a new uncertainty crept in. What if her mother remained resistant even after stepping into her artistic world? Could this endeavor fracture or strengthen their bond? With the next day looming, the risks felt tangible, waiting to be confronted. "Okay," her mother finally said, drawing in a deep breath. "Let us do this together. But I want you to promise something in return." "What's that?" Sarah asked, heart pounding, fingers entwined nervously. "Promise me that you'll be honest. Whatever you feel, whether it's fear or excitement, I need you to tell me. With every beat, Sarah felt their dynamic shift in palpable ways. This challenge and agreement could lead them to profound discoveries as individuals, as mother and daughter. As they gripped onto the fragile hope of progress, Sarah sensed a different door was just opening. Only now they had to step through it. Yet on the cusp of a new beginning, she couldn't shake the dread in the pit of her stomach. What revelations would come? Would her mother embrace this journey with open arms? Or would the force of ingrained expectations push them apart once more? As the art pieces around them seemed to whisper anticipation, Sarah wondered what awaited them both in the studio, and how those moments might reshape not only their artistic expression but their relationship as well. The canvas of their lives was about to be painted anew. The morning light streamed into the studio, casting a warm glow over the array of canvases scattered around the room. With each deliberate step Sarah took inside, her heart raced in a rhythmic blend of anticipation and apprehension. She peeked back at her mother, positioned hesitantly at the threshold, seemingly caught in two worlds, the one she longed for and the one she was trying to leave behind. "Come on in, Mom," Sarah encouraged, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. "You're not just a spectator here. You're part of this." Her mother stepped forward slowly, her eyes scanning the chaotic beauty that surrounded them. Brushes, paint tubes, and half-finished works lay strewn across the counter. Remnants of Sarah's passion laid bare. Each canvas told a story, yet the most vital narrative was yet to be discovered. "What do you do when you're creating?" her mother asked, tilting her head as she approached the closest canvas. The colors ebbed and flowed harmoniously, a striking display of Sarah's emotional journey. "I let everything pour out," Sarah explained, confidence rising with each word. "My thoughts, my fears, the chaos in my head, it all becomes part of the art." She paused, gauging her mother's reaction, searching for signs of understanding rather than judgment. "And how do you know what's good?" Her mother's voice remained infused with skepticism, the foundations of her previous expectations still trembling just below the surface. "Good is subjective. What matters is that I'm expressing myself," Sarah countered, feeling the weight of their fragile footing. It was a moment not just to share her art, but to challenge her mother's entrenched views on success and validation. As they moved from one piece to the next, Sarah watched her mother's expressions transform, shifting from skepticism to contemplation. Each interaction began to chip away at the barriers that had defined their relationship for so long. Yet, in her mother's silence, Sarah sensed an undercurrent of fear, the same fear she had battled within herself. "Do you remember that time you took me to the art museum when I was a kid?" Sarah asked, trying to draw her mother into a shared memory. "I saw a painting that made me feel like I could fly." Her mother hesitated, then nodded. "You always did find enchantment in the extraordinary. That's what this is all about. This is my vision of flying, Mom. It's the freedom to express what's inside," Sarah said, glancing towards her mother, searching for a glimmer of connection. "I don't want to see you fail, Sarah. What if this isn't what you think it is?" She bit her lip, the tension in her shoulders evident. "Then it's my failure," Sarah replied, a fierceness igniting within her. "But it's mine to own. I need you to trust me to take this risk. I promise we'll navigate the consequences together." As they moved to Sarah's latest canvas, a critical silence fell upon them, punctuated only by the distant hum of creativity vibrating through the room. Her mother's gaze lingered on the brushwork, revealing hidden depths of emotion. Sarah seized the moment, her heart pounding as she delineated her inspirations, the whispers that fueled her visions, piecing them together in a narrative that transcended their past. What if her mother paused, glancing back at Sarah, her voice trembling slightly? "What if you put something of your dreams in your paint? What if you spilled your hopes onto the canvas?" The question hung there, and as Sarah processed it, she felt the charge of possibility igniting like a spark. What if I painted them literally my aspirations, my struggles mixed into the pigments? Her mother's expression softened, burgeoning with realization. Perhaps the art could serve as a bridge between us. Maybe that is how we can connect. Invigorated by this newfound alignment, Sarah suddenly envisioned a project that would embody their journey, a series of pieces that illustrated their emotional growth, their shared struggles, and the reconciliation of dreams. It could become not just an expression of her own identity, but a testament to the strength of their evolving bond. As they exchanged ideas, their voices melded in excited dialogue. Sarah felt the studio come alive with renewed energy. Yet beneath the surface of excitement, she grappled with the challenge ahead. Would her mother's support hold firm as they ventured deeper into emotional territory? Would her struggles and truths translate successfully onto the canvas? Or would the weight of fear still loom over their revelations? With each passing moment, Sarah understood that this was just the beginning of a transformative journey, not just in her art, but within their relationship. Just as a painter must confront blank spaces, she felt the magnitude of the unknown stretching out before them. As they prepared to dive into their project, a shard of doubt crept in. What if the process revealed deeper fractures in their connection? What if the vulnerability laid bare the lies and expectations that lingered? "Let us get started," Sarah said, determination lacing her voice as she prepared supplies. Yet an internal battle unfolded beneath her enthusiasm. Were they ready to confront all the fears and hopes that would come to life in their collaborative colors? The moment ripened with tension as they stood poised on the edge of creation. What truths would the strokes reveal? What transformations would emerge as they painted not just on canvas, but in the fabric of their shared lives? Sarah gathered her brushes, feeling an electric anticipation in the air. The studio suddenly felt like a vessel for transformation. With her heart drumming fiercely, she glanced at her mother, who was already flipping through colors, her hesitation starting to fade. "Let us map it out first," Sarah suggested, her thoughts swirling with ideas. "What do you want to express?" Her mother seemed caught off guard. "Me? I thought this was about your work." "It's about us," Sarah emphasized gently. "Our fears and aspirations. Let us create something that speaks to both of our journeys." After a moment's contemplation, her mother nodded slowly. "Well, I guess I've always dreamed of drawing a landscape, something that feels vast and open, unlike this small town." Vastness. Sarah could sense that a world of longing beat inside her mother's creative heart. "What do you envision?" "Something that can mirror your dreams." As they spoke, their conversation took on an ambitious shape. Sarah envisioned the juxtaposition of her own abstract explorations with her mother's detailed landscapes. "Our paintings can be a conversation of sorts," she suggested. "Your realism can frame my emotions." Her mother's eyes brightened. "Rather like the shock of my everyday life meeting your vibrant imagination?" "Exactly." Sarah laughed, buoyed by the sense of collaboration that was blossoming between them. Yet, she couldn't quite shake the uneasy thought. Did they possess the emotional clarity to undertake such an intricate dialogue? Would the act of creating expose deeper rifts, or could it truly unify them? As they set to work, each brushstroke began to feel like a step taken together, a slow unraveling of fragile truths. Sarah mixed her paint, infusing each color with the pulse of her fears and dreams, while her mother started sketching a sprawling horizon on her canvas. Hours drifted by, echoing with the sounds of brushes interacting with fabric, with muted colors spreading across surfaces like stories looking to be told. The studio atmosphere thickened with intent, capturing their exchanges, the laughter, and even the silence that spoke volumes. Then, with the weight of the vulnerability they embraced, an unexpected tension settled in. Sarah paused, her brush hovering above a blank spot on the canvas. Doubt encroached. "What if we can't do this?" she blurted out, her voice thick with anxiety. "What if it reveals how fractured we really are?" Her mother stopped, the directness of Sarah's fear hanging in the air. "What if it does?" she countered, a glimmer of defiance in her voice. "But doesn't that mean we have something worth confronting?" The truth of her words struck Sarah like a lightning bolt. The stakes felt higher now, and amid the unease, a determination surged within her. "Then it's a risk we take together," Sarah declared, feeling the warmth of their shared resolve. They needed to confront the overarching themes of their lives, the dreams deferred, the unarticulated fears, the past burdens that still held sway. Suddenly, Sarah's attention shifted to the space where her mother's canvas stood blank beside her. Let us push each other. No holding back. This has to capture everything, she proposed, her voice steady with newfound conviction. They worked in such sync that it felt as if their brushes were extensions of one another's spirits. The studio transformed into a sanctuary radiant with their collective creativity, yet an unyielding question gnawed at Sarah. Could they bear the weight of truths revealed? As dusk began to creep through the windows, illuminating the studio with a golden glow, Sarah hesitated. They needed to lay bare their most profound struggles and aspirations, yet what would that really look like? What hidden fears would emerge when the paint dried and the truth stood stark against the backdrop of their lives? Amidst the fading light, she pushed aside her worries and added a deep, turbulent swirl of color, her emotions spilling onto her canvas. She wanted to punctuate this collaboration with her raw essence. But could it resonate with her mother? Could the act of creating also lead to healing? With each passing moment, the connection between them intensified, but so did the stakes. Would the revelation of their innermost challenges forge an unbreakable bond, or fractiously unravel their shared history? As the sun set, Sarah caught her mother's eye, silently acknowledging the journey they embarked upon together. Let us see where this takes us, her mother replied, a hesitant smile forming amidst the weight of uncertainty. A sudden silence enveloped them, signaling the necessity for deeper exploration. Just then, a flicker of urgency lodged itself in Sarah's throat. Something in their work felt simultaneously right and precariously unsteady. Are we willing to face what we've been hiding? She asked, forcing herself to confront the intruding fear. Her mother paused, the tension palpable. We'll find out soon enough, she replied, the unshakable resolve in her voice both daunting and exhilarating. In that moment of shared intensity, everything hung in the balance. Their trust in each other was fragile yet unyielding. As they prepared to lay bare their truths, Sarah realized they were approaching a frontier neither of them had anticipated. Could they truly embrace the emotional landscapes they were about to reveal? The first brushstroke of honesty lay just ahead. Would their canvases reflect the beauty of their uncovered selves, or the weight of past shadows? The air thickened as Sarah continued to paint, each stroke layering colors that seemed to pulse with the weight of unspoken truths. The once welcoming studio transformed into an echo chamber of fears. As dusk faded into night, Sarah felt the vibrant colors on her canvas wrestle against the shadowy doubts creeping into her mind. She was on the precipice of something monumental, a confrontation not just with her mother, but with herself. What would it mean to reveal her vulnerabilities? The very act of expressing emotions felt dangerously transparent, stripping her bare before the eyes of the one person she had long feared would not understand. Do you remember when you used to tell me stories as a child? Her mother suddenly asked, breaking the tension that hung heavily between them. About the wildflowers that danced in the winds, free and untamed? The warmth of nostalgia enveloped Sarah momentarily, but it was a sharp reminder of how far their relationship had drifted. Of course, she replied, glancing at her mother, whose eyes glimmered with a faint spark of longing. Those stories were my escape, her mother continued, her voice softening. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of what it meant to be free. I buried my own dreams to become someone who could support a family, to live a life that felt more realistic. That admission hung in the air like a whisper, vulnerable and fresh. It ignited something within Sarah. And I want to express that you've trapped yourself in a landscape of duty while I've spiraled into abstraction. Can we merge these worlds into one? Her mother turned, her brow furrowing as her expression shifted to contemplation mingled with concern. But what if the landscape we create is too bleak? What if it reveals all that we have masked for years? Sarah hesitated, newly grappling with this reality. Her commitment to creating something authentic had never felt this burdensome. That may be the very reason we need to do this. Perhaps unveiling those shadows leads us into the light. The dark sides of us, buried but still real, might just be the evolution we need. A thin silence filled the space around them, punctuated only by the sound of bristles against canvas. Sarah's heart raced, and she concentrated on her painting, layering the swirls of color deeper, more erratically. Perhaps the chaos mirrored her own internal disarray, her life so vibrant, yet disjointed. Suddenly, her mother's brush dropped, splattering paint across the floor. "No, I can't face that," she exclaimed, a wave of fear flashing across her face. The moment felt raw, an all-too-quick reminder that while progress had come, pain lingered at their doorstep. Sarah took a deep breath, anxiety grinding in her gut. What if we made a pact? Let us protect each other in this exploration. No matter how dark it gets, we should be anchors for one another. Her mother nodded slowly, a flicker of resolution igniting in her gaze. The past doesn't need to define us. We can paint our way through it. As they fell back into the rhythm of painting, the stakes felt higher than ever. Each stroke became a gnarled branch in their shared history. Intertwining memories, they were mapping out a terrain filled with both beauty and complexity. But with every ounce of courage to expose the silence, Sarah wrestled with a nagging question that plagued her. What if their truths were locked in a battle with each other, rather than a united front against pain? As the night drew darker, a profound realization washed over her. Creating was more than an act of expression. It was a risk, a leap into the unknown where shadows might not only intertwine but clash, revealing deeper fractures than they ever acknowledged. With a trembling hand, Sarah painted a tempest of swirling hues, a storm brewing right before her eyes. This should capture our conflict, Mother. It captures everything: the light, the dark, the tension we've lived. She breathed, pressing the brush with unwieldy passion. Her mother's eyes widened, sensing the fervor behind Sarah's insistence. The canvas before them began to embody their unwrapped truths, simmering with potential energy like a thunderstorm on the brink of release. Can we truly navigate this together? Her mother asked, vulnerability cracking her voice. Softly, Sarah whispered, we have to, or we'll always be lost in our separate landscapes. As their canvases began to emerge, an undercurrent of anticipation pulsed in the air, an uncharted territory lay before them. Would they galvanize each other towards healing, or would the revelations tear them apart? The transformation had begun, but the path was fraught with uncertainty. Are we ready to dive deeper? Sarah probed, clutching her brush tightly, feeling it quiver with potential. Her mother took a deep breath, their eyes locking, charged with meaning. Let us find out, she replied, determination mounting against the uncertainty that awaited. The moment hung in the air, ready to tip either way. Would revelation lead to connection or fracture? The true test lay just beyond the horizon of their canvases, waiting to challenge both their spirits. As the revelatory conversation dissolved into the depths of paint and shadow, Sarah felt a raw intensity swell around her. With each stroke on the canvas, a surge of apprehension mixed with exhilaration coursed through her. The act of creating wasn't merely a means of expression. It felt like a reckoning, an unearthing of hidden emotions that had lain dormant for too long. Sarah forced herself to focus, channeling her anxious energy into the swirling chaos before her. What if we add more contrast? She suggested suddenly, turning to her mother, whose presence felt both comforting and daunting. It needs to shout about our struggles. The suggestion hung between them, an invitation to deepen their exploration despite the shadows looming large. Her mother's tentative nod signified either acceptance or trepidation, and Sarah sensed the stakes elevating. They delved back into their respective canvases, a silent pact forming a fragile thread woven through layers of color and complexity. Hours passed as they painted, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words and revelations fighting to surface. The studio became a sanctuary of vulnerability, but the question loomed. Would their truths coalesce into healing, or would they open the floodgates to an emotional deluge? Suddenly, the room seemed to vibrate with tension. Sarah's hands trembled over her canvas, no longer steady with colors, but seizing with a primal need to confront. Mom, what do we really fear in this process? She asked, the brush frozen mid-stroke. Her mother paused, the tension in her shoulders apparent. Perhaps it's the fear of what lies beneath our surface. What if we discover things about each other that we cannot bear? The vulnerability in her voice pierced through Sarah. It struck a nerve deep within her, a fear that she, too, had been avoiding. What if I'm too much? Too loud? Too colorful? She admitted, the tremor in her voice betraying her brave facade. Her mother moved closer, her expression softening. Then let us embrace that. Just as the darkest shades can enhance the brightest colors, our complexities can strengthen our bond. The sincerity of her words unfurled a wave of courage in Sarah. Let us push further, Sarah urged, grabbing some black paint and squeezing it onto her palette. Hesitating only for a moment, she swirled it into her vibrant hues with purpose. This can symbolize the doubts and darkness that constantly threaten to overwhelm us. Her mother watched, eyes widening in equal parts concern and admiration. It's risky, she responded thoughtfully, but there's beauty in taking risks. The studio filled with the sound of bristles frantically gliding across canvas as they plunged deeper into their shared creation. Each curve, each clash of colors, became a deliberate act of defiance against their fears. As they painted, unspoken truths flickered to the forefront like lightning illuminating a darkened sky. And yet, the storm gathering within them was not merely about the colors. Amidst their silent battle with self-doubt, Sarah began to recognize a familiar pattern. Her life had often been a dance between tremendous vitality and suffocating hesitance. It was a reflection she had initially skirted around but could no longer ignore. What if this chaos in our painting becomes a map, a guide through our complexities? She offered, her mind racing with possibilities. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about learning who we are amidst the chaos. Her mother stepped back, taking in the evolving landscape before them. And what will we uncover as we traverse through? There was an inkling of excitement in her voice, an exhilarating uncertainty laden with potential. As the night deepened, the scent of paint mingling with the echoes of their past flashed in Sarah's mind, arousing both fear and determination. She clenched her brush tighter, the answer to that question hovering just out of reach. Did they have the fortitude to face the trials ahead? Or would each revelation further unravel their connection? Mom, Sarah began, a storm of emotion brewing within her. I am afraid of having to face the part of myself I've hidden away. How will you see me when the paint dries? The tension solidified around them, thick and palpable. It was a moment teetering on the edge of breakthrough or breakdown, requiring an audacity they had yet to summon. Sarah's breath hitched as she awaited her mother's response, the weight of their journey unspooling into the silence. Her mother's voice trembled, filled with resolve. Then let us discover together, no matter where it leads us. The intensity wrapped around them suffocated yet nourished, and at that moment, Sarah realized this was just the prologue to the deep narrative they were entangled in. With each brushstroke, they carved their truth into existence. An intense transition from uncertainty to a fragile resolution that seemed more daunting than ever. Their journey was spiraling into unpredictable territory, and as the lights faded in the studio, they were ready for the shadows lurking ahead. But as they turned to their canvases, both women faced a question that hung heavy, a question that demanded drafts of courage. Could their bond withstand the weight of their pasts as they painted their way into an uncharted future? The dawn broke gently, casting a golden light across the studio, where remnants of last night's emotional journey lingered on canvases and in the air. Sarah, standing before her nearly finished piece, felt a mixture of awe and fear as she surveyed the landscape of colors, each stroke layered with countless unspoken truths, reflections of both her and her mother's essence. Her heart raced with anticipation as her mother entered, a freshly brewed cup of coffee in hand. Sarah, she began, her voice infused with a softness that drifted into the room like a melody. I didn't sleep well last night. I think about everything we uncovered. Sarah turned to face her mother fully. I did too. His strange painting was both cathartic and terrifying. The two of them shuffled awkwardly but meaningfully into the space they created, intertwining their paths in a way they hadn't before. Taking a deep breath, Sarah decided it was now or never. Mom, our conversation last night opened so much. I realize now I've held back my feelings, the very same feelings I wanted to express through my art. Her mother nodded slowly, sipping from her cup. And I've recognized that I've stifled my own dreams in favor of what was expected. But her voice was steady, charged with sincerity. My role has always been to want the best for you, even if it meant suppressing my own aspirations. I see that now, and it fractures me. That acknowledgement means a lot to me, Sarah said, her heart swelling and the air thickening with shared realization. But we need to understand where our aspirations intersect. We both have our fears. Mine is realizing that the artist I seek to be may not live up to the expectations I carry. Her mother's gaze sharpened. And I fear that if I let you soar, we may drift apart. But perhaps there's room in the world for both of us to thrive. In that moment, amidst the vibrant chaos of their canvases, something shifted, an undeniable spark igniting the shadows of doubt that had lingered too long. They could redefine their lives, their art, and perhaps each other, but it meant grappling with the truth of their complex histories, intertwined in their creative endeavors. How about we finalize these canvases and then we showcase them together? Sarah proposed, a surge of courage lighting her from within. Art can be an exhibition of transformation, a testament to our journey together. Her mother's eyes glinted with a blend of fear and excitement. You really believe we can tackle this together? Absolutely, Sarah affirmed, feeling a rush of determination. The truth is, art isn't just about the product. It's about the process of uncovering who we are. Let us show that side, the messy, raw truth. As they moved back toward their canvases, the atmosphere in the studio pulsated with a fresh energy, the convergence of hopes both personal and shared. Each brushstroke became an embodiment of their resilience. And with every heartfelt decision to mix colors, fears began to scatter like fading shadows. Hours flew by, during which they poured their emotions onto their canvases with abandon. Sarah could feel their dialogues happening not just through spoken words, but through the vibrant layers of paint melding together. Her mother's landscape began to intertwine with her abstract swirls, creating a visual harmony that captured the complex beauty of their evolving relationship. What if we? Her mother paused, contemplating how to marry the messy collision of their styles. What if I incorporate elements of my childhood dreams into my piece, landscapes filled with wildflowers and towering peaks? Yes, Sarah beamed, excitement thrumming through her veins. And I can frame it, emphasizing the chaos and freedom in the parts that draw from anger and joy. The moment felt transcendent, as though they had crossed a threshold not just as artist and mentor, but as two women courageously striving for authenticity. With each renewed dialogue, they illuminated the dark corners that had previously constrained them, transforming them into a tapestry of unrestrained potential. Finally, the day of the exhibit arrived and the gallery buzzed with eager attendees. Sarah stood beside her mother at the entrance, their canvases shining brightly behind them, a vivid celebration of their journey toward healing. This is it, Sarah exclaimed, the electric energy surrounding them palpable. As crowds gathered, their initial anxiety began to dissipate, morphing into a sense of collective anticipation that enveloped them like a warm embrace. They stood proudly, witnessing the vibrant reflections of who they were and who they had become, no longer merely teacher and student, mother and daughter, but allies forged in creativity. When the first guests began to approach their canvases, Sarah's heart raced. Comments of admiration floated through the space. This piece speaks to me, one voice remarked. It's like witnessing a story unfold. In that instant, Sarah's fears began to wane, each compliment a reminder that they had indeed transcended the boundaries set by the past. Her mother turned to her, eyes pooling with unshed tears of pride. We did this together, Sarah. I finally understand. The weight of every unvoiced anxiety began to slip away as the attendees continued through the gallery, captivated by the symbolism woven into the art, evidence of their triumphs, their struggles, and the undeniable bond that had propelled them forward. Mom, Sarah whispered, her heart swelling with gratitude. I feel like I've achieved not only a personal goal but a transformation, a reclamation of my identity as an artist. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. Her mother's smile radiated warmth, a reflection of acceptance and newfound understanding. And thank you for sharing your world with me. I've awakened something within myself too, not just as a mother, but as an individual. Standing before their collaborative masterpiece, they realized that the journey had led them to this moment of undeniable fulfillment. They had faced the darkness and emerged into their own light, creating something richer than either had anticipated. With the exhibit now bustling, Sarah took a deep breath, confidence mingling with exhilaration. "Now we begin again," she declared, hope bubbling to the surface. In that moment, she stood firmly on her path, poised to embrace whatever lay ahead. She was not merely an artist. She had become a force, a beacon of growth, authenticity, and transformation. The gallery shimmered with potential, a testament to the power of connection and courage. As individuals and creators, they held the weight of their shared truths, forever intertwined in a narrative that could now expand beyond anything they had once imagined. And as the words of encouragement and admiration continued to pour in, the space around them transformed, not just into an exhibition of art, but an arena of rebirth. Where fear had once dwelled, now stood the promise of limitless futures, ready to be painted. With pride swelling within them, Sarah and her mother exchanged a knowing glance, and in that fleeting moment of silence, both understood. This was just the beginning. Now, it's your turn to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because it truly makes a difference. You need to show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. It's a conversation worth having. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting our community through these critical actions.